Three, two, one. Thank you guys so much for joining us here in the Growth Secrets interview series. I'm here with Tim Ryan today. Tim and I are both digital marketing guys, so this is going to be a great conversation. There's going to be a lot in here in terms of practical takeaways. I know that I have a lot of questions about how Tim is managing this coronavirus crisis. It's the elephant in the room. We've got to talk about it. So I'm going to hit you with some of those questions, Tim. But before we get into all that, I just want to say thanks so much for joining us.
No, thanks for having me. Looking forward to the conversation.
Awesome. Well, Tim, why don't you let people know a little bit about yourself? Let's talk about you personally. What got you into business and what's your story?
Sure. Going back quite some time, I was an Airforce guy many years ago. The Airforce brought me to Virginia, so the Norfolk, Virginia Beach area of Virginia. At that point, I was a new father. I knew that I had one chance to watch my kids grow up. So I left the Air Force so that I could be a father to my children and experience that as much as I could. So then I left the Air Force, went to government consulting, went to that world for a little bit. And while doing that, I went to business school at William & Mary, finished my MBA. And during that time, I realized that I learned how business was conducted. And I knew that there was a lot of people that were very good at their product or service that they performed, but they didn't necessarily know how to build a business around it. So once I finished my MBA, then I put my resignation in with the company that I worked with and started my own business. And the whole idea was to help those people that were really good at the things that they do and put a business around it. Last thing that we wanted to have happen was someone that was the best person at their skill that no one had ever heard of. And so that's the pain point that we solved initially.
So that's great. And I completely identify with that, right? Like that is one of the things that I value so much about my business and my work as well, is that I work with a lot of people and have over the years that, man, they're so good at their thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But building a business around that maybe isn't where their skill set lies. So being able to help in that is great. So so tell me about your business. What is it that you guys specialize in exactly?
Yeah, it's interesting. So certainly marketing, digital marketing, website development, branding, that's a really big aspect of what it is that we do. But with our focus, when we first started, we really identified with the early stage startups and small business community, knowing what their pain points were. And then gradually everything, I just kept on going further and further into that community. And so now that's really my big focus, is building that entrepreneur community and bringing everyone together, having a safe place for people to connect with one another, establish that deal flow with one another. And it's been such a fun ride working with those different types of folks. I mean, they are, as entrepreneurs, everyone is super optimistic, and in their own way, they think they're going to change the world. And it's fun working with those kinds of folks.
Right. And so tell me what you mean a little bit by that community, right? Is that an organized community, or are you just talking about like your audience and your network, or tell me about that? That's interesting.
Yeah, it's really a grassroots kind of effort. I mean, it all started with a buddy of mine, and we were both starting our business at the same time. And it was a matter of, gosh, I have all these questions about how to build a business, but I don't really know where to turn to bounce ideas off of one another. So we started an event where we would bring people together, talk over a couple of beers, showcase some businesses, and then we would give each other feedback on what those businesses, on what our suggestions were for those businesses. And everything really took off from there. We didn't know. I expected one or two people to show up when we first started doing something like this, but then it just continued to grow and grow and grow. And now there's so many different events that are taking place within our community of the Norfolk, Virginia Beach area of Virginia that we're almost competing against people's time, not so much competing against one another, but So a big part of what I do and what I take on now is coordinating the entrepreneurial efforts across our region of 1.3 million people, so that we can have that track and that pathway for people to follow if they want to start business. This is where you get started. If you need help in this area, this is where you need to go to. And almost really to a marketing standpoint of, we become a marketing arm for the region for entrepreneurs, because they don't have big marketing budgets to go out and touch and reach a lot of people. So we become that marketing arm for the region so that we can help other businesses voice their message.
Tim, we are like 100% on the same page here. I think that is really awesome. I have probably not to the same level of organization that you have. I've made an effort here in my community to do the same thing. I think it's really important that you're doing that. So I think that's really great. So tell me a little bit then about what your process is. Is this an organized process where people go through like a track, or is it like, hey, if you need help with this, I'm here for you, or, you know, Joe, the CPA is here for you? Is it more, I guess, as needed?
Yeah, it's kind of both, in the sense of, because it got to become the wild, wild west, so to speak. As we started doing all these different types of events, then more and more organizations started doing that, and it all started to pop up. So we have a really unique region that we live in, because we have 9 different local governments. We have several different universities. So everybody wanted to have their part in building their own little stovepipe, really. So that's where we had to put some process into place, and rightfully so. I mean, local governments, they're responsible for the residents of their community, so they have to show that they provided value. But we're us being a grassroots type of effort, we can mow down all those different barriers and say, look, if you want to succeed, it doesn't make a difference where you live. Come to us. This is the footprint of everything that is going on, and we'll give you that process. So we aren't location specific. So for example, one of the things that we have, our longest running events, is an event called Startup Night, and we have that once a month. So if somebody wants to learn, just kick the tires a little bit about entrepreneurship or how to start a business, then we encourage them to go to something like Startup Night. And we have 3 different companies that they do their pitch, so to speak, or they present on their company, and the audience is there to ask questions, give some advice. But it's a really laid back, again, it's a group of people drinking a couple beers. So it's a low threat environment. But then if you want to elevate yourself to a bigger stage, then we have different pitch competitions or different pitch events that we have, where you can further validate your business idea and get some small seed funding for your business. But the whole idea is the fact that you've validated your business idea. And then that rolls into, we have a local accelerator here that people can apply for that, and then it's a bigger stage. And then we also have one of the top 10 angel funds, investment groups in the area, that when you graduate from the accelerator program, that then in theory you should be an investable company. And so then that dovetails into the angel group that we have, 757 angels, that you can get, that your company's investable, and you can get some more funding for your business.
All right. So you have essentially what sounds like almost like a farm league / incubator that feeds into the accelerator, that could potentially feed into the angel investor group.
Yep.
Right. And then presumably beyond that, if they make it past that, then they're headed off to the full venture rounds. So
Right.
So you really are taking people along this pathway, starting from an idea. I love the idea of Startup Night. Is that something that's done? Obviously that's an in-person event. Tell me a little bit more about that, because that's a really cool idea.
Yeah, that's so it is, it's once a month and it always has been in person. So we're now looking at v- doing the Zoom thing
Sure,
to
yeah.
have a virtual event. But yeah, I mean, so it used to be held at the same place, like the third Thursday of each month, and now the person who runs that, they go to different places each month. They may go to an incubator here or a co-working space there, but they'll move around to continue to build their audience. And gosh, I want to. It's been in place 10 years now. I mean, it's the longest running event that we have, and people look forward to it every single month. And so it's a nice mix. It's almost like your web traffic. You know, we have new people that show up every month. We have the reoccurring people that come every single month, and we continue to build the audience. So it's really cool to see those relationships form.
That is neat. And so you give me there a segue then to go in and talk about your business a little bit.
Uh-huh.
So what does your growth strategy look like? Obviously, this is the Growth Secrets interview series. We're always interested in hearing about how people are moving their businesses forward. You're welcome to also talk about, I'm going to ask some specific questions about the COVID-19 stuff. You're welcome to
Hmm.
toss in, how you guys are adjusting given what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing with me is I learned really, really early on that business, it evolves around relationships. And there's so many, you have to care about people before they're going to care about you. And it's so easy to confuse that that thought. I mean, so we see all these influencers on Instagram and different social media things, and yeah, they have that influence, but they also have that audience. So, I mean, so if you tweet something and one of these influencers or these celebrities, they can just like that tweet or retweet your tweet, and then you're brand loyal. Well, we don't necessarily, as small businesses, we don't have that. We have to work a lot harder. And so I truly care about the people that we work with, and establish those relationships and establish that brand loyalty to me and to our business. And it's amazing how much people, how well that has served us. But and I say that in a genuine sense. I mean, I don't, it's not about collecting business cards at events. It's about truly establishing relationships with those people, and when they need something, then they count on us. Or if they talk to somebody that needs something that we do, then they remember us. But it's a matter of establishing that relationship, keeping that relationship warm, and leveraging that. That's been our number one strategy.
Yeah, that's the Instagram influencer, right? If we could just do things their way. No,
Right.
I completely agree, and I love that phrase of that. People, you have to care about them before they'll care about you. My grandfather used to say, well, he repeated this, that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? And so
Right. Right.
I think that can absolutely be a part of a virtual digital marketing strategy, right? You can display that you care about the relationships that you have, and that the people in your environment. I think the work that you're doing with the farm league we talked about, right? The startup nights and the incubator program, all those things I think are clear demonstrations that you guys clearly care about your community. So then let's then talk about the coronavirus stuff.
Mhm.
How is that affecting your business right now? It's one of the weirdest things, it really, that I've ever encountered, in that it affects everybody you talk
Right.
to.
Yeah. I mean, for us, I mean, gosh, we're busier now than we ever have been. And I think, again, it comes down to the relationship standpoint. So right now, people are experiencing challenges, and people are confused. They have no idea what to do. They're almost paralyzed. So they're going to reach out to the people that care about them. So there's a ton of people that are reaching out to us saying, "My gosh, I don't know what to do. What do you think?" Um, if a gym owner, when they're forced to shut down their gym, they have to come up with new ways. So we established, and it seems like it's caught on pretty quick, but they were the first ones out of the gate to establish, Facebook Live type workouts for their members. So from that standpoint, we are busier now than we ever have been. But with confusion, it creates a ton of opportunity, and there's so much opportunity that we have to rethink everything, the way that we do things. It's amazing to me how during times of like this, that it comes down to your core business and how you set everything up. Do you have all the procedures put in place that are repeatable? You have to go back and look at your revenue streams and make sure that all your numbers work and your financial model is sound. So the people that have all that stuff put in place, they'll make it through it. The people that are just willy-nilly and just trying to they're hoping and praying that they're going to make it through it, it's going to be tough for them. And so this is a time that another thing that I tell the different people that we talk to is that it's really, there is no standard right now out there. So go out there and try something, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But right now, there's a ton of failure that is happening right now, and just, you can't be afraid to fail. If something doesn't work, figure out why it didn't work, pivot, adjust, do what you need to do, and then keep on trying. But there is no standard right now. I mean, everything is just, everyone is in survival mode. So do what you got to do to survive.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm advising a lot of people, is that right now, the worst thing you can do is nothing.
Right.
Because we don't know how long this is going to last. And you can't rely on your competition doing nothing, right? But we're all getting this collective grace to everyone, right? Where it's like, yeah, that thing may not have worked, but like nobody knows what to do right now. Everything is an experiment. So
right.
you can, and I'm advising a lot of my clients, like, hey, look, some of these maybe more, aggressive strategies that we talked about doing, but we didn't really want to mess with the funnel, or we didn't want to mess with what was working. Now's as good a time as ever to try it, right? We've got this idea list, right? Now's a good time to roll that out, because it might just be something that cuts through the noise of all the world is ending, right?
That's right.
And it might be the thing that helps. I've got close friends and other clients and business owners that I know, like what you're saying with your gym owner client, right? They're just doing stuff, and it's getting really positive responses, because it's like, thank you for not just going silent, right? This is helpful to me. I don't want to cancel my membership. I don't want to drop my subscription. I don't want to stop doing business with you, but you had to give me, I needed a reason to be able to keep doing it or to do it again.
Right.
So,
yeah, I mean, everyone talks about, God, before all this happened, everybody talked about their to-do list being so long and there's not enough time in the day to do everything. It's like, well, now is the perfect opportunity to start crossing some things off of that to-do list. Even from the whole blog aspect, no one has time to blog or to take necessary steps to make sure that your website is dynamic. Start writing some blogs, and get yourself some stuff in the can, so that when everything does start again, that you have some stuff that you can keep on going. But there's so much opportunity to do things that we haven't had a chance to do, that a lot of people are going to miss that opportunity. And once everything kind of returns to whatever that new normal is going to be, it's going to happen sooner than what people think. And they're going to look back and say, gosh, I wish I would have taken the opportunity to do this or to do that for my business. So you really got to stay motivated and grind through this time when it's really difficult to get sidetracked.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. One of the potential outcomes, and there are a lot of potential outcomes and nobody knows, but one of the potential outcomes is that we have a decently well-capitalized economy that has some pent-up demand and are going to be unleashed. To what degree is up for debate or up for time to tell, but it's going to come back onto the market, and you're either going to have a pretty full pipeline because you've been doing things and you're going to have some people ready to buy from you when they can, or it's going to be crickets and you're going to have to start from then. Meanwhile,
Right.
your competitors have eaten up your market share because you did nothing for the last few months.
That's
So,
right.
so if you're listening, people, if you're listening, do something. Don't just sit around and wait for it to be over or for your PPP check to come in or your stimulus check to come in. That is not going to save your business long term. So that's my plea that I've been
Yes.
preaching to people. Take
Yeah.
advantage of this.
Right. And that's a perfect case in point. I was on a call yesterday, and I had mentioned a couple of minutes ago that we're in an area that's 1.3 million people. But one of the jokes that I have is that this is the biggest small town community that anyone could ever see. I mean, there's a lot of small town mentality that goes on. And so one of the calls that we had yesterday was, gosh, I mean, the way that I've always done business is face to face and shake hands, and that's how I did everything. And I need your help now because I can't rely on that anymore. So I'm now a believer that I have to have an online presence in order to drive business. So
It only
for
took
all
a
the
global pandemic.
yeah. So yeah, all the people who live in the smaller communities out there. I mean, this is the time to take advantage of that because we don't know what this new normal is going to be, but it's certainly not going to go back to the way it used to be a month ago.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. I think we're going to talk about this time in history as, and I'm not a doomsdayer. I'm not a, I'm very optimistic generally speaking anyway. But I do think that we're going to look back on this time and say, okay, well, that was almost like the way we look at 9/11, like, oh, this is a post 9/11
Right.
world, right? Like we're going to be in a post pandemic world, and hopefully there'll be more good to that than bad, right? Hopefully the fact that, uh, you know, like tools like Zoom have added over 200 million new users. People are realizing that they can run their businesses more efficiently.
Right.
They're learning that by using tools like and things like digital marketing, they can continue to reach out to their customers and generate new business no matter what's going on. And all of this remote work stuff, hopefully those things will last. And another thing, Tim, I'm sure you've seen this given how you've described your community. I know I've seen this in mine. So many, I mean, I've seen so much reaching out, helping one another. I've seen local restaurants in my community buying from each other to feed
Right.
their staff while they're fulfilling, takeout orders, trying to keep their businesses afloat, just to support each other,
That's
right? And
right.
like, hopefully that sticks, So I have hope that some of the good will outweigh the bad long term.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that when I'm working with different business owners or aspiring entrepreneurs, the big thing is two things really. First being is if you don't tell somebody that you need help, then people don't know how they can help you. So, and then which leads into the next point, which is you can't be afraid to show your vulnerable side. I mean, this is a time that we all have to rely on one another to help each other get through this. So you have to be vulnerable and you have to tell people how they can help you. And you'd be amazed at how much people are willing to help.
Completely agree. Yeah, I think that's something that I've seen a lot of too is, and I've said it differently, but the same idea is like, look, you're going to have to help yourself, right? You can't just, that's what we talked about, right? You can't just sit back and do
Hmm.
nothing. But also like now is, I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Maybe you're just I'll just steal what you said, but like we have so much more liberty since this has affected everyone to just be open and say, hey, look, we need the support of our community. We need the
Right.
support of our neighbors right now because your neighbors need that same support too, right? And we can pull together and we can work with one another and we've got to be willing to say so because otherwise you'll just kind of fade into obscurity and that's not going to help at all.
No, yeah, you have to be proactive out there. I mean, there's especially now people have so much time on their hands from a digital media standpoint. You have to be present, or else you're going to be forgotten about really, really quick. And then when everything does blow over, hopefully that is soon, that you're going to be further left behind.
Yep. Digital media space is cheap in a lot of different ways right now.
That's right.
Everything from ads to just availability of eyeballs.
That's right. That's right.
Yep. Well, Tim, this has been a great conversation. It's always good to talk to other marketing guys, and especially other people who have a real passion for their communities. I feel like you and I could really swap some stories and share some strategies there. I'd love to connect some other time, but thank you so much for being with us here in the Growth Secrets interview series.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I had a lot of fun.
Yep. Hey, real quick before you go, how can people learn more about you?
Yeah, they connect with us. The business is called Arc4, ARCPHOR. So arc4.com. All the social media handles are all the same: Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. Hit us up on those, or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn as well, or Twitter. My handle is RyanTNT. But I would love to connect with everybody.
Sounds great. And I'll make sure to include all those links in the comments. Guys, if you're watching this and you enjoyed this, leave me a comment. If you thought that my hair looks funny because I haven't had a haircut in like 6 weeks now, leave a comment and make fun of me. I appreciate any of it. And if you want to get in touch with Tim to learn more about him and you can't get what you need from those links, let me know and I'll put you in touch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next interview.